Good evening, everyone. You are welcome to the Wholesome Parenting Community Hub, where we believe that children are the heritage of God, and as parents and guardians, we are to raise them well. And we also believe that our young people, our teenagers, we are, as parents and guardians, to train them well. There's a difference between training and raising. Anyway, before we go on, we just want to thank God for today. We want to bless His holy name. I want us to be in an attitude of thanksgiving to God. First of all, I want to thank God for everything He has done. The very fact that we are here today and we are alive is a reason to thank God for. Many people slept yesterday and they are no more. So we just want to give God thanks. Father, we give you thanks for the opportunity to be alive again today, oh God. Thank you for another day. Thank you because we know that you have us in mind. You have a plan, a purpose for us, and we are grateful, oh God. We also thank God for our spirit, soul, body. We thank Him for every area of our life: spiritual, physical, financial, material, marital, relationships, even our communities. We thank God for our schools, our colleges, our universities, our place of work, our businesses, every area in the community, even the NHS, our doctors, our nurses, even the market woman, the lady in the at the reception of wherever we go to for employment or whatever it is. Let's just thank God for even the police in our neighborhood. They police the neighborhood for us. Let's just thank God for everything around us in our communities. Father, we thank you for our communities. We give you all the glory. We give you all the praise. Thank you because that, Lord, we know that, Lord, your hands is upon every aspect of our communities and you are making it safe. And I also want us to thank God for our children between the age of 0 to 12. Let's thank God for them because children are the heritage of God. And that as these children grow up, they grow up in strength, in faith in God, and also having the fear of God in them. I also want us to thank God for our teenagers. Teenagers are not worse. They are not bad people. They are just learning. They are just learning to adapt to transform from being a child to being independent and growing to an adult. So let's thank God for our teenagers, that the mind of God, they will have the mind of Christ in them, and the Spirit of God will continue to continue to guide them. Let's thank God for our young adults, 19 to 25, that as they step out into the world, the Lord will continue to guide them, deliver them, protect them, show them the way to go. I also want us to thank God for adults. We are all adults. Let's thank God for our lives. Many of us have seen some different faces in our lives, but yet we are still alive. Some says that the many waters have passed under the bridge, but then the bridge has not been brought down. We are still standing, so we thank God for that. I also want us to thank God for our own work, the works of our hand, whether you're a business person, employee, an employer. I want you to thank God for wherever you are. Even if you are unemployed, thank God, because soon and very soon, that job is coming. That business idea is going to take a new phase to the next level of coming out. I also want us to thank God for our finances. Here I wrote that, thanking God for the ocean of financial breakthrough. You might think, oh, I only have 10 pounds in my pocket. That's not an ocean of financial breakthrough, but keep thanking God because it's going to supply all your needs according to His glorious riches by Christ Jesus. And finally, I want you to thank God for yourself. Most of us, when we are told to say something about ourselves, we look at the negative side, but today I want you to look at the positive side. You are made in the image of God. God lives in you. You are here on earth for a purpose. The very fact that you are here on earth means that God has a purpose and a plan for you. So I want you to embrace that. Whatever situation you find yourself in, just hold on because God is going to do wonderful things. So welcome again to the Wholesome Parenting Community Hub, where we believe that children are the heritage of God. And as parents and guardians, we are to train and raise them well. Thank you. God bless you. What do you see? 6 or 9? Depending on where you're standing from, you could either see a 6 or a 9. That's it. It's the same thing with relationship. You either see it from your view or the person's view.
Wholesome Parenting Community Hub welcomes Omowumi Olaloko. Omowumi Olaloko is a child of God saved by grace through faith. She is a God seeker in the love of God's kingdom and God's people. Omowumi Olalokun is a marriage counselor who believes in the sanctity of marriage as God ordained it. She is an ordained pastor of the Redeemed Christian Church of God. She's the head of the marriage counseling unit of her local church and has organized premarital counseling classes for uncountable couples for over 2 decades. Omowumi derives great joy in seeing newly married couples settle down in marriage and making success of the marriage institution. The mandate in Titus chapter 2, verses 3 to 4 is one of Omowumi's purpose for living, and it is her driving force as she mentors younger women. Omowumi works as a volunteer mentor with CVEF, Chosen Vessels Empowerment Foundation, a non-governmental Christian mentoring foundation specializing in mentoring women from all spheres of life. Omowumi is a principal partner at Wumi Olalokun & Co. and the CEO of Pure Treasures Travels and Tours Limited. Omowumi holds a Bachelor of Laws degree from Ogun State University, now Olabisi Onabanjo University, and was called in the Nigerian bar in 1993. She also has a master's degree in guidance and counseling from the University of Lagos. Omowumi is happily married and blessed with glorious children to the glory of God. Connect with Omowumi on Facebook and email now.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
You can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So we'll be talking about the miss factors in marriage
I had to mute this
relationship.
one when I was, because otherwise,
And there are a lot of them actually, and all of them affect relationships one way or the other. We have miscommunication, misunderstanding, mistrust, mistake, misinterpret, misjudge, misbehave, misconduct, and the list is endless. So my first question is, when you hear the word miss, what comes to your mind? What comes to my mind is something taken away, something no more there. It's just like to say, oh, I miss you. You are no more here. So if we're talking about miss something, we're saying that thing is no more there. That thing is absent. That's what miss is. So if you say miscommunication, that means we're not communicating well anymore. If we say misunderstanding, I'm not understanding you anymore. Mistrust, I don't trust you anymore. Trust is lacking. That's what miss is about. And miss affects all relationships, one way or the other. Miss come to play in relationships at one point or the other in our relationships. But then, are we going to allow the miss to continue? Or are there things we can do to get rid of the miss in our relationships? So I'm going to start this evening with miscommunication. Miscommunication. And we know that communication is the process of sending a message through a medium to the receiver. And, you know, it's a way of passing on information, ideas, knowledge, feelings, emotions. So communication is not just about talking. It's much more than talking. It's sharing our feelings, sharing our emotions, passing on information. That's what communication is all about. And I like to say, and I'm sure a lot of us know, that communication is the engine that powers any relationship. It is the engine room of any relationship. And so if we're not communicating well in our relationships, then there would be a problem. And no relationship thrives when communication breaks down. So The question now then is, what is miscommunication? What is miscommunication? And I like to say that it is a failure to communicate effectively. It happens when messages are not conveyed in a way that will allow the receiver to interpret it well. When the messages are incomplete or not understood, that is what communication is. So what are the causes of miscommunication? The number one cause of miscommunication is assumption. A lot of the times we assume too much in our relationships. We're assuming that our partners should know what we're going through. They should know what we're thinking or feeling without expressly telling them. I like to say that most of the time we want our partners to play the role of mind readers, to know our mind. And we were told in law that the devil does not even know what is in your mind. So our partners are they're not gods. It's only God that will know what you're thinking without you telling it to him. So we assume a lot and we're saying, but I thought you should know. Oh, don't you know? No, we assume a lot. And then another one is lack of clarity. Sometimes we're just being vague and indirect, and that can leave room for misinterpretation. And, I will keep saying law because that's how I am trained. We were told in law school that you have to be as explicit as possible when you are writing your briefs. You don't give room to vagueness or ambiguity. And that's why you will find a lawyer is writing 4 words meaning the same thing. 4 words meaning the same thing. Why are they doing that? So that you can understand. If you don't understand lying acts, at least you will understand situate acts. If you don't understand that, you will understand being acts. They are all the same words. But what we're saying is that we must be as explicit as possible. So lack of clarity can cause miscommunication. Poor listening skills. A lot of the time, and when we don't focus on the person who is talking to us, sometimes we miss out, because we said that communication is not just about words, body language, our facial expression. So when you don't look at the person who is talking to you, you're not focused on the person, you can miss out of some of the messages, and that can lead to misunderstanding. I would really like to run now. I'm sure that we'll be able to read others up when they are posted on the social media handles, because I would like to talk about the negative effects of miscommunication. What are the negative effects of miscommunication? Number one is emotional distance. When partners struggle to communicate effectively, they may start to feel misunderstood or ignored. When you feel that your partner is not getting what you're saying, you are not able to reach your partner, or you are talking and the person is not listening, before you know it, you begin to withdraw emotionally. There'll be emotional distance when there is lack of effective communication. Then increased stress and anxiety, because poor communication leads to constant tension. There'll be tension in the relationship. And before you know it, there'll be anxiety. The two of you might just be feeling so stressed because you are not getting to each other. You are not communicating effectively. Then feeling of loneliness. If you don't address it on time, you might be together, but one of you might just be feeling lonely because the person is feeling that his feelings and his perspectives are not understood. You are not validating the other party's feelings, and you are just doing your own thing. Before you know it, there's the distance. Then, of course, conflicts will increase. There will be shouting, there will be tension, there will be anger, and all of that. So what is the way out? What are the solutions? How can we remedy miscommunication? Number one, which is very, very key, is to choose the right time, tone, words, and place. I would like to read a scripture, Proverbs 15:23, and it says, a word spoken in season, how good it is. A word spoken in season, how good it is. What does that mean? It means that a word spoken at the right time, communicating at the right time is good. You might be saying the right things at the wrong time. You might be saying the right things using the wrong tone or saying them in the wrong place. Your spouse is sleeping or your partner is tired, and that's when you want to talk. That's when you want to communicate. You won't get, the person won't get it. You won't get the right response. So you must choose your time. You must choose your tone, choose your words, and your place. A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. So we must be very careful about our tone and our words. Also, we must manage our emotions. Learn to recognize when emotions are running high and take a break if needed to cool down. You don't have to talk when you are angry. You must be able to manage your emotions. You don't always just say it and spew it out because you don't want to hurt the feelings of the other party. We must be careful to take charge of our emotions. Then we must practice active listening. Like I said before, that when somebody is talking to you, you're talking to somebody, you must focus on that person. You must listen. It's not good. Somebody is talking to you, especially us women, we like to multitask. You are doing this, you're doing that, and then your partner is talking. You are not listening. You're not paying attention. And that's why we said choose the time for people whose partners love to watch football, and the person is watching football, and that's the time you want to discuss important matters, important issues. I can bet you it's not everything he or she will hear. So we must practice active listening. When your partner is talking, then shut down on other things and listen so that you can, don't let us interrupt. A lot of people, before you start saying something, they have finished it for you. No, that's not good. We should learn not to interrupt. Let people learn. Let them finish. And then when you are listening, when you are practicing active listening, you must maintain eye contact when necessary. You cannot to show the person, oh, I'm hearing you, oh, you said that, okay. Your gesture will show to them that you are listening. And then you should be clear and specific. And of course, avoid assumptions. Don't just assume. Don't jump into the matter. Don't feel that you understand it all. Oh, that's what you mean. I know what you are thinking. No, you don't know what the person is thinking. Let the person say it. So we'll quickly go to the next one because I'm looking at the time. Adesholape, please let me know when my time is up. The next one I want to talk about is misunderstanding. Misunderstanding. Misunderstanding occurs when someone interprets or perceives another person's words, actions, or intentions incorrectly. Yes, when you perceive or interpret another person's words or actions or intentions incorrectly. The person has said something and you are interpreting it another way. That's not what the person means. And misinterpretation can lead to feelings of confusion, frustration, and even hurt because you're not understanding the person. And the person, you know, the two of you, you can become confused because I thought that's what you meant now. I thought I did it the way you wanted me to do it. You are frustrated. The person is frustrated. So what are the causes of misunderstanding? Number one, unspoken expectations. Expecting your partner to understand your needs or preferences without clearly communicating them. I'll give you an example. So when we first got married, I like my birthdays celebrated. Birthdays are big to me. And from where I'm coming from, we celebrate birthdays. But then my husband, birthdays were nothing, not so much to him. He could even forget his own birthday. So the first 2 years of marriage, I would expect that my husband would make a deal out of my birthday and all that. But then sometimes the first year, I can't even remember whether he forgot and I was outing and, and then he was like, oh, I didn't remember. That year was, I felt frustrated. Then the second year, I was actually waiting in the office. He'd come and pick me. Let's go out, pleasant surprise and all that. It didn't happen. Then I told myself, I'm going to be expressing what I want. I would tell you. So when we enter the year, because my birthday is in January, I'll start saying it. Oh, my birthday is, this is what I want. This is what I like for you to do. I will say it. And then when it comes, I will still take it as if it's a surprise. So nobody feels frustrated anymore. So we shouldn't hold to our expectations and feel that our partners will know. Whether you are courting, you are dating, or you are already in the marriage, don't expect that your partner will know what you haven't said to them, or they will understand your feelings. I'm not saying we should not, because relationships, we are meant to sacrifice, we are meant to look out for, we are meant to almost become one, even in your thoughts. But then, until that happens, let us be expressive. Don't let us expect that our partners will know without us saying it. Then tone and body language. We're talking about the causes of misunderstanding. Unspoken expectation, someone's tone, facial expression, or body language can lead to a different understanding of the message. Maybe the person is just tired And then you're saying, oh, you don't even care about my feelings. See how you are looking at me. See how you are pouting your mouth. See how you are standing like this. You are dismissing me. It might not just be right. That might not be what the person means. So tone and body language, and that's why we said in the first one that we must choose a tone of voice. We must also, when we are communicating, when we want our partners to understand us, our body language must go with what we want so that they can understand us better. How to avoid misunderstanding? How can we avoid misunderstanding in our relationships? And like I want to reiterate it, I'm talking about all and every manner of romantic relationships. Dating, courting, married, because all this apply to all these relationships. The first thing to do is ask for clarification. If you are in doubt about anything, ask questions.
2 more.
You should ask.
2 more minutes.
Okay, you should ask questions. Then address misunderstandings early enough. Don't pile it up. Don't bottle it. Because when you bottle things, then it will explode. Don't bottle it. You should be patient and empathetic. Be patient. Don't dismiss of your partner's feelings. Don't just let the person feel, why should you feel like that? And so, no, you should be empathetic. You should try to understand. I want to quickly go to mistrust. What is mistrust? It is a lack of confidence or faith in someone's reliability, honesty, or intentions. It is when one partner doubts the other's loyalty, honesty, or commitment. You don't feel secured. You don't feel, you feel you can't rely on them anymore. They are not trustworthy. They are not being honest. You are in doubt. And, mistrust come about because of lack of transparency. It can be because of lack of transparency. You are no longer transparent. You are leaving room for doubt. You are hiding. You need to make a call or answer a call, and you leave where your partner is. You go into the bathroom or whatever. You are giving room for doubt. You are giving room for them to not trust you anymore. Then past betrayals. You have not dealt with your past betrayals. You have not dealt with your past hurt, and you are projecting it into your new relationship. Inconsistent behavior. You change your words. You change your moods. You change your actions. And I like to say here, please keep to your promises. If you can't keep a promise, then don't make such promises, because by the time you keep going back on your words, then the person will start to not trust you anymore. So how do we combat mistrust? Open communication. Always talk about it. Keep the communication line open. Discuss your fears with your partner. And then to address past betrayals, acknowledge and walk through the feelings of your past experiences. Get professional help if it is necessary. And please do not project your past relationship or your past betrayal into your new relationship. And then you should build self-esteem and worth, and be consistent in your actions. Thank you. Thank you, and thank you. I'm sure my time is up. Adesolape.
Hello. Okay. Thank you very much, Omomi. I wish I could. No, I won't highlight on everything because we're running out of time. But thank you. I hope people noted contact details and you can contact her, and hopefully we can revisit these slides because it has PowerPoint, not PowerPoint, but powerful points there. So thank you very much. And hey, newbie, photocopy. There you go. I only wanted one copy.
Oh, you didn't say anything.
Wholesome Parenting Community Hub welcomes Rachel Charles. With over 25 years in the educational and criminal justice system, Rachel holds the BSc Honours in Social Psychology, the BSc Honours in Criminal Justice, a Diploma in Personal Performance Development. Using NLP and CBT skills, years navigating corporate spaces, whilst building businesses and lived experience, Rachel understands what goes into supporting people through challenge and change. Rachel is a transformational coach, consultant, and public speaker who teaches overwhelmed professionals to build successful businesses to transition from their 9-to-5 without burnout. She is also a mother of 2 and a property investor. Rachel maintains a strong sense of social justice and developed her skills within the field of inclusion, becoming the Regional and Qualities Manager for the Probation Service London. She has worked with local councils and organisations on inclusion projects for their staff, residents and local schools, and provides workshops, consulting and coaching for corporate companies on stress management, trauma-informed practice, and equalities compliance. Rachel supports period poverty campaigns for young girls in Grenada and mentors students in an ethnicity mentor match programme with the University of Brighton. Connect with Rachel for coaching and event speaking opportunities on our website www.ownyourwings.com. Also, follow Rachel on socials for more amazing motivational content, updates and events.
The Ms as it is in relationships, and as you can imagine, the Ms can also take place in various areas of our life, which is why I'm here to speak about the Ms when it comes to work. And in the workplace, the Ms happens so much where you can look at miscommunication, misinformation, mistrust, misquoting, misinterpreting, and they can go on. I'm sure you can find your own. But when I was putting this together, I had to think about what the Ms actually meant, because it literally felt that if you were able to just remove the Ms, everything would be okay. And when I looked at what Ms meant, in Latin, it meant minus, and we know that minus is to take away. So it meant that if you were communicating and it's a miscommunication, it means that there is something lacking or taken away. And the speaker who went before did speak about something being missing from those. And that's exactly what it means. It's a minus. So it's a taking away. And I thought of when we were putting this together in terms of work, looking at it from the point of view of yourself, if you may be a manager, and also how it may, where the misses can happen as a member of staff. And in the video that we just saw, we can see that straight away there was a person who said something to someone else. You can look at the tone, you can look at what was said, and you can see that it landed not, it didn't land very well for the person. they weren't quite sure what was needed and then went back and the person wanted a very different outcome. And those things, even if it doesn't happen in a scenario just like that, those things do happen very commonly because you are assuming that somebody understands something just by, one word, or just because they're in the same office as you're in the same job, that they understand exactly what you meant. But there has probably not been proper communication. One of the things that is noted when it comes to work is the power imbalance. And it may or may not have been what's happened in that video, but the video that was just shown, you can see that there was someone who handed somebody else a piece of work. So therefore, they were in the position of authority to give an instruction. And the other person who is receiving is there taking that instruction and having to go on with whatever they thought they were meant to do. And that's one of the areas that we can see the misses happening, especially where we're looking at the power imbalance when it comes to the workplace. So when you're looking at it in terms of a manager to members of staff, that is a space where a lot of miscommunication, mistrust, misinterpretation, misunderstanding can take place because of that power imbalance at work. And unfortunately, so I'm going to look at this in terms of, I haven't got slides today. I thought I'm just going to speak today. But I'm going to look at this in terms of a manager and in terms of a staff, of members of staff, and how it lands for both and what you need to do. Because whether or not you're a manager, you are still a member of staff. Unless it's your business and you answer to no one, you are still a member of staff. However, we know that there are times when there can be managers who act as if they don't have managers. So those are the things that we also have to bear in mind. So as managers, how are you relating to your members of staff? Are you mistrustful of your members of staff? Are you treating your members of staff in such a way that you are looking at them as low level? We do understand that, being in a position of management, being in a position of leadership in work does give you, it does give you that power imbalance where you give the commands and somebody else has to follow them. However, it is still important to know and to understand and to remember that even if you are in a position of leadership, you are still staff like everyone else. We are still colleagues like everyone else. And sometimes one of the things that we have to be mindful of, especially where it comes to managers being mistrustful of their staff, is that fact that managers are in that position, in that chain of command as well. The manager, as long as you are not the actual owner of the business, the manager themselves also has a manager. One of the things that we have to remember as members of staff is that where there are managers who it may feel difficult to deal with, is the fact that they may themselves be under pressure. And that means that sometimes where there may be mistrust to staff, it's because they have to also answer to a manager who is above them. That manager may be asking them and will be holding them to account. And in order for that manager to answer those questions when they go to their manager, sometimes they will hold their members of staff to higher levels than would be expected. And that's why I ask, as managers, as leaders, are you mistrustful of your staff? Can your staff come to you? Do they feel comfortable enough? Do they trust you enough that they can come to you and say there is an issue? There's an issue why maybe this report may not have been done on time, or there's a report maybe why they have not been able to come into work on time. And it doesn't mean that you are allowing them to take advantage of the situation, but where there may be valid excuses or valid reasons, are you comfortable enough to go back to your managers to say, this is what is happening in my team. I'm confident in this person that they have this particular issue happening at this moment, And I'm confident that they, you know, as long as they get through this patch, they'll be able to do that. But are you mistrustful of your staff in that you are not taking into account some of the valid reasons that they may have if there are issues that are happening? Because we're dealing with human beings in the workplace. We're dealing with people who have the same issues that we have. And sometimes we too, as leaders, as managers, will also have those same issues. Do you see them as lower level? Do you see yourself in that position? Is the mistrust coming from that position of being manager, which means that I now have the authority to tell you what to do and I don't have to listen to anything that's coming from you? Are we treating people with the respect that they deserve? Because whether or not we are managers and whether or not they are members of staff, they are still human beings and they are still adults, and we are all adults and have to communicate on that level. And a lot of the times the mistrust that may come from management to staff may be, as I said before, of the insecurities of the manager. Many managers may be thrust into positions of leadership and they haven't been properly trained. And as they're being held to account by their senior leaders, it may be coming across as, you know, they may have into, you know, they want to dot all the I's and cross all the T's and make sure that they are keeping to policy, but they are missing out on the humanistic part of how they need to work with people. So as members of staff as well, you need to be mindful of some of the issues that your manager themselves may be going through. And that's where that mutual understanding needs to take place. In order for you to be able to go forward as a manager and be able to lead your team with trust and respect and transparency, you have to be mindful of how you're communicating with your staff. And as members of staff as well, be mindful that sometimes your manager may be under a particular type of pressure, which means that they're coming across the wrong way. Doesn't give them an excuse for bad behavior, but sometimes it explains why some of the miscommunication, mistrust, misunderstanding may take place. One of the things that we saw in that video as well that opened up this section was the way the person spoke to the other member of staff. And it was just, you know, photocopy and expected, you know, how many photocopies did you need? Did you need it in black and white? Did you need it double-sided? You know, there was no other explanation of what was needed, but it's, you know, photocopy, just go ahead and do it. I've given you an instruction. And we really do, when it comes to, you know, that led to miscommunication, misunderstanding, misinterpreting. And we really do have to be mindful when we're communicating with people. Think about how we're coming across. Our tone is very important. And I know that sometimes there's times and in the I've heard over the past few weeks where people say, you know, tone doesn't matter. You just need to put the information out there. But our tone and the way that we speak is very important. I could walk into the room and I could say, good evening. Or I could have come on here and I could say, good evening, everybody. Or I come in and I say, good evening. Whichever, the first one you might think, oh, she's very shy or unsure of herself. The second one you might think, okay, she's very kind of bubbly. This is going to be an interesting evening. The third one you might think, oh my goodness, what's happened to this person? You know, they sound angry. They don't. And whatever I say next after that can set the tone for the entire evening, can set the tone as to whether or not that person or you listen to me going forward. So the person, you know, where we looked in the video and we saw them just say photocopy, that sets the tone for their interactions. And it may just be that day that the person was having a bad day, but we do have to be mindful of our tone and how we're coming across. We have to be clear in how we're speaking to people in terms of communication. If you are given an instruction, you are a manager, a leader at work, when you are given instructions, place yourself in the shoes of the other person. You know exactly what it is you want. That person may have 25 years experience in that organization. Do they actually know what it is you want? Or they may have 25 days experience in that organization. Do they actually know what it is you're asking them to do? Because if you are not clear in your communication, it can lead to frustration on your part because you're not getting what you need as a manager. It will also lead to frustration on the part of the person who is receiving that instruction. It could leave them feeling that, they're inadequate, they're not good at their job. And it may be no fault of their own, but for how you communicated. So your tone is important, as well as making sure that when you're speaking to people or giving an instruction, it is very clear, because that leads to a lot of misinterpretation. Misinterpretation, again, can lead to mistrust, because the way that we give instructions, the way that we speak to our team is important in terms of keeping the lines of communication open. One of the things as well that we have to make sure, so that's the leadership area as well. Like I said, I'm going to be going back and forth between leaders and whether or not you are a member of staff. And being a member of staff, sometimes you might receive information that isn't very clear for you. In order to ensure that you are not misinterpreting that information, there are a couple of things that you can do to safeguard yourself as a member of staff. And one of those things is, it sounds very obvious, but we don't always do it. If you are given given information, ask for clarification if any part of that is unclear. It might be that there's a change of a policy and you're not quite sure how it impacts on you. Read through the policy. And I cannot tell you how many times, as a member of staff, myself, when I was working full time, or as a manager, that people would receive information and not go and read up the policy and see how it affects them. And those are the things that we have to do to ensure that we are safeguarding ourselves. If you are still in the 9 to 5, make sure that you are safeguarding yourself so that you are very clear on how work policies, work procedures, and all of those other things affect you, so that when you're going forward, you know exactly what you are working under. Some of these things could be directly linked to the work that you're doing. It could be linked to benefits that you're expected to receive through work. You have to make sure, be very clear in communication. And I know that sometimes it can feel a little bit difficult to ask those questions. Sometimes you don't want to be in the middle of a meeting and put your hand up and say, I don't quite understand. But really, we need to get past that fear, because I can guarantee you, if you are sitting in a space where you're not quite sure, how this thing is supposed to be done, there's probably somebody else, if not a couple more people sitting next to you, who are just as unsure as you. And one of the things that we really need to do is, if we don't feel clear, we don't have clarity, is ask that person, maybe on a one-to-one basis, but make sure that you ask the question. And the same way when it comes to managers who might be giving information, to avoid that miscommunication, misunderstanding, as I said before, put yourself in that person's shoes, put yourself in that team's shoes, and take time and allow grace for others. And if we can do that on both sides of the coin, it's going to help. And remember that none of us know everything. So even if something may not feel clear to you, sometimes it may not even feel clear to the manager who is giving that instructions. As leaders, we have to be aware of our own limitations. As I said, we don't know everything. We may not, know all of the things that we're putting forward, but where we don't know, we ourselves have to ask those questions again. And members of staff also have to be aware that, yes, of course, we also don't always know everything, and are also have our own limitations. So misadvising can take place, misinformation can take place, miscommunication, misinterpreting. And as I said, it's very important to understand that there is a minus. And if we are approaching situations understanding that these things can take place, it makes it a lot easier when it comes to our communication with each other, so that we can take a step back and look at, if I were on the receiving end of this, how would it feel? If I were the person who was expected to take in this information, how would it land on me? And that's for both parties, whether you are a member, whether you are a member of staff without management responsibilities, or whether you are a member of staff who has leadership responsibilities. Think about how you are expressing yourself and how that will land on the person who's receiving. There are a couple of things that we need to be mindful of. And one of the things I always say is there is that scripture that we know, give to Caesar his due. We have to make sure that when we are going to work, there are so many things that may be on our minds that we, have to be mindful of, and maybe getting in the way of some of the things that we're doing. But when you are at work, make sure that what you are doing is what you need to be doing. Give to Caesar his due. And the things that are, coming on you, the things that might be important to you, the other responsibilities and the other things, that priorities that you do have, as much as possible, do not lay those on other people. There are managers who would come in and it feels as if they may be taking out their stress on their members of staff. No one needs to go through that. There may be colleagues who will be coming in, and again, it feels as if they're taking out their stress or whatever is going on for them on their colleagues and other members of staff, including managers. No one else needs to go through that. And that's where, if you know that you are having a bad day, think about how that's where you have to be doubly mindful of how you are coming across to the people that you are working with, working for, working under, and looking at how you are coming across and how your communication that day, how you're relating to them that day may land on them. So there's a couple of things, and I wrote down 7 things that can help us as we're going through when it comes to communicating, to avoid the mis when it comes to how we are relating to people at work. And the first thing, and it was interesting because when I was writing this down, I looked at it and I thought, okay, maybe I need a list for managers and maybe I need a list for staff. But it turned out that these are all interchangeable. So whether you are a manager, whether you're a member of staff, these 7 points will help you as you go forward and avoid some of the misses that can take place in our place of work. So the first one was looking at how you communicate, and I wrote down adult. We know that there are so many different ways that we can communicate, but we usually communicate in a couple of ways in terms of when we relate to somebody. We either relate on an adult basis, and that's where we're supposed to stay. Or when communication starts to falter, when there is miscommunication or mistrust, or someone is misquoted, it's usually because we have stopped communicating on an adult basis, and we have begun to communicate on a child parent adult. And usually that's where you may have somebody who wants to complain, this isn't working, or you haven't done it properly. This is, the person who, when we looked at the video again, and the person who just said photocopy, that they have taken on the role of adult in this, the role of parent in this, because it's that instruction without any kind of empathy or looking at how it's landed. The other person on the receiving end hasn't questioned, hasn't asked for clarification. They're blindly following an instruction and they're not even sure what they're doing. And they have taken on the child role. And unfortunately, there is no way that you can usually communicate as an adult if the other person is not in adult mode as well. You would normally just go into parent mode if the person has gone into child mode, or you can both be in child mode and communication is never going to happen properly. What we have to do is make sure that we always elevate. I think it was Michelle Obama who said, when they go low, you go high. And I always say, I agree with that sentiment to a degree, but we always have to stay high, always stay in adult mode. so that when somebody comes to and relates to you and they are not in that adult mode, you bring them up to where they are. So you always stay high. So there's no need to go high. You stay here all the time. So that if somebody is coming at you and speaking at you in parent mode, you bring them to adult mode. You bring them to respect. You bring them to that mutual respect and authenticity mode. You never go down to child mode. So that's the first one. Keep communication within the adult arena. The second one is being mindful of your audience. Be mindful who is receiving the instruction. Where are they, or who you're speaking to? What is your audience? At what level are they at? What is their level of understanding? You know, how much information do they need? How much clarification do they need? And always be mindful of who your message is landing on, so that you're not pitching it too high or too low, so that you don't lose your audience. And where possible, just make sure that you clarify things, be transparent as possible, so that it leaves no room for mistrust and it allows for clear communication. The third point is preparation. And when it comes to that point, it's just looking at, I have a message. Sometimes there are messages that need to be shared, and it's a difficult message. It may be a message to a team. It may be a message to an individual. Always prepare how you're going to say it and what you're going to say. Think about if you were receiving that message, if you were having, it might be a difficult conversation. It might be a conversation about somebody's, attendance at work. It might be something about their quality of work. How would you receive it? And sometimes the message is never going to be pleasant, but always prepare. And that's when I would say you probably need to prepare even more to make sure that you are very clear in what you are conveying to the person, so that, again, there is no miscommunication, no misunderstanding, and no misinterpreting what is being said. So preparation is key, especially when you're going into conversations that can be difficult at work. The third one is being empathetic. So the same way that you're looking at who is this message going to, how is it landing, how is it going to be received, is, again, as I said earlier, taking that step back and looking at, if it is landing on me, if it were landing on me, how would I receive it? And then thinking about who is actually receiving that message and how do I need to say it so it lands properly for this person. So being mindful of who is receiving and how it will be received. One of the things that's very important is looking at how we challenge or how we hold people accountable, because at work, there may be times when you'd have to hold somebody accountable, and it can be a manager holding a member of staff accountable, but it can also be a member of staff holding your manager. You may have to hold your manager to account. And number 5 is how you do that. And I always say, be mindful of how you challenge, be mindful of how you hold someone to account. And it isn't always to soften their feelings or soften the blow, but we know that if we do it in the wrong way and you back somebody into a corner, then the usual response is going to be defense, and it may never land properly. So I always say, never challenge somebody in public if you can avoid it. Have that conversation on its own. It may be that you're expecting an apology. It may be that the person has done something wrong. And this is something that managers need to learn as well, is, there's no need to come into an open plan office and say, why have you done this like this? Or why have you, it needs to be done in a respectful manner. We're keeping it adult. We're mindful that we are all working together and we are all adults. And you treat people with that mutual respect. If you're going to challenge somebody or hold them accountable, you do it without trying to embarrass the person. Because even if the person understood that they made a mistake, as I said a minute ago, it may land very differently, and their response may not be the one that they themselves want to give, but they may feel that they need to defend themselves because they're in public. And especially as well, it may be a manager who's made a mistake and a member of staff feels that they need to hold this manager to account. You've made a mistake and I'm going to hold you to it. Again, it may always also be better to challenge in private, because if you hold a manager to account and they're in public and you're potentially embarrassing that manager in front of the other members of staff, that's not going to go down very well. So you could even be brought up on an offense of disciplinary action, depending on how you've done it in front of the members of staff. So even then as well, challenge, hold your managers to account, but do it in a respectful manner in private where possible. It may be times that you can't do it like that, or it has to be done in public. I would say that would be on the rare occasions where it has to be done, but for the most part, you will get more of a positive response if you do it in a respectful, discreet manner. And like I said, this isn't to collude, and this isn't to, cover over anything that's wrong, but it's how people will accept challenge and how people may accept the, being held to account, or that something is being brought up that they may have done incorrectly. So avoid where possible challenging in public, because that can also create a mistrust between the two of you, because they don't know that they could trust you to be discreet or to be respectful. Number 6, speak up, communicate, advocate for yourself. So on the one hand, I'm saying, make sure that you do it with discretion, make sure you do it with respect. But number 6, make sure you speak up, because this is where, if you're not sure of something, again, this is where the miscommunication, misinformation, misunderstanding, misinterpreting, mistrust can happen. You've heard something and you're not quite sure, what they mean by that. Are you picking on me? I'm not sure. Speak up. Pull that person aside, pull your manager aside and say, what did you mean when you said this? And that's where, we go back to number 3, preparation. Prepare what it is that you want to say. Don't go in there with a hot head and thinking, I'm just going to address this situation. Ask what they meant. But as I said, number 6, speak up, communicate. Never let things fester, because that's where a lot of issues can happen in work, where, again, there's that power imbalance, that power struggle, and you're thinking, this person might be picking on me. This person is talking about me in a certain way, or they're always picking on my work. Ask for clarification. And if you think that you are being picked on, if you think that you may be being treated unfairly and you're not quite sure how to address it, there are so many different ways that you can go around it. You have to make sure that you are up to date with the policies. Be very clear as to what the policies are at work. But also, so make sure that you are asking for help. And that leads us into number 7. Ask for help. If you are not able to advocate for yourself, make sure that you are asking for help. There are many different ways that, as we said, that the mis can happen. But if you look at all of them, it's communication has to be clear. Communication has to be, has to be open and honest and transparent. And that's one of the ways, and that is the only way I could say that we can make sure that we are stepping away and not having the mis, and stepping away from the mis. So in communication, in speaking up for ourselves, not allowing things to fester. There's so many times where there may be an issue that's happened at work, and we're so quick to go and speak to another colleague. We're so quick to bring it at home. And what that can lead to is stress and a pressure buildup. And we know that there are so many, there are so many people who are suffering from stress at work. And a lot of it has come from all of the misses. A lot of it has come from the fact that we haven't communicated properly. It's come from not feeling comfortable because we don't feel that we can trust our managers. Or even as a manager, we might feel isolated because we feel that we can't trust our staff. And the more that that pressure builds up at work is the more that, pressure is normal. Pressure is neither negative or positive. Some of us may work really well on a little bit of pressure, but when that pressure builds up to a degree that we're no longer able to contain it, it may be that resources are going lower and our workload is going higher. It makes it difficult for us to be able to communicate properly sometimes. It may lead to resentment sometimes at our jobs, at our colleagues, at our managers. But this is where communication needs to come in, because if we don't do that and we allow stress to build up, we know that stress can affect every single system in our bodies. I'm not a medical doctor, but we do know that if you do have stress, and you can look it up yourself, it will affect your respiratory system, it will affect your circulatory system, it will affect your lymphatic system. All of the systems in your body will be affected by stress. And one of the most leading places where stress can be found is within the workplace. And the reason why that stress is there is because of the misses. So in order for us to be kind to ourselves, in order for us to be kind to each other, this is where it is important for us to speak up, communicate, see where those difficulties are taking place in our workplaces. And number 7, ask for help. I say speak up and I say communicate as if it's easy. Sometimes it isn't, because there is that real fear sometimes that if you are going to challenge someone, especially if it's a manager, it's going to be taken negatively. Or you may have, that fear that I don't know how to say it because my performance review is coming up and my manager may, look at me differently and my reputation is on the line. If you're not sure how to do it, go and speak to somebody. It could be another manager. You don't want to undermine your manager, but it might be just asking for support in terms of how do I broach this topic with my manager? Or going to somebody else who's respected in the team. Do not go to the person in the team who might be in problems themselves, because you don't want to take on their problems. Or you don't want to be classed in the same bracket as somebody who may be causing some of the misinformation, miscommunication, and mistrust. But you do need to get support. And if you do feel unable to speak up for yourself, then do go and ask for support. Sometimes that support may also look like getting a mentor. It might be getting a coach. It might be even speaking to that manager and asking for, external support that might help you to get through, parts of your job that you might not be able to understand properly. But those are the 7 things that I thought would help us to step away and be mindful of how we are working with each other, how we are trying to avoid the mis. And I say avoid the mis, and maybe, the mis, as I said at the beginning, when I looked up the meaning, and it was the Latin for minus, to take away. We really do need to take the mis away. So it's looking at how can we take away that takeaway so that we are left with environments where we feel psychologically safe, environments where we feel safe enough to speak, safe enough to challenge, safe enough to ask for help. And that's what happens when we are working and communicating with people openly and feeling that. So, as a member of staff, it is important that you ask for help, but also as a leader, it's also important to look around you, look for those who may be struggling and looking at what are the issues that they may be facing. How are the ways that you as a leader can promote and create psychologically safe spaces for your members of staff? And if you do have members of staff who are not communicating and aren't saying something, and you can see that there are issues there, it really is imperative as a manager that you are seeking those people out and asking, what can you do to support them? What can you do to make that space where they feel able to communicate and able to ask questions? So that was my interpretation of the Ms and how it appears in work. And I hope that that was clear for everyone. And if there's any questions, please feel free.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, Rachel. I'm so happy that the way you've dealt with this topic is so clear. Now, looking at both logos, especially the one on the back, can you see any objects there? Anyone from the online, before I pass it to the people in the room, can you see any objects there? You can unmute yourself and just tell. No, the FedEx one. Yeah. Can you see any objects there? I don't think they can hear me. Can anyone hear me? If you can hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, you can hear me. So is there any object in that FedEx?
No.
No.
Yeah.
But on FedEx itself, can you see any objects there?
Just the difference in color.
Apart from the color. Okay. If you look between, can you remove that so that I can explain better? Between E and X, can you see anything there?
Oh, there's an arrow.
Arrow, yes. Thank you very much. Arrow between the E and the X, which is express. You see, it says express. So sometimes when we come to business, we need to be very, very mindful and alert to what we are really doing. So without taking much of our time, thank you very much. Who answered that question? Who was the person?
It was Rachel.
Oh, thank you, Rachel. Thank you. We'll go to the next speaker. The introduction, just to introduce him, because he is the one taking the Miss in the business setting.
Wholesome Parenting Community Hub welcomes Abhinav Mayikara. Abhinav Mayikara is a Student Enterprise Officer at Anglia Ruskin University, focused on supporting student entrepreneurship and growth. With experience in marketing and student engagement, he has developed a strong understanding of promoting innovation in educational settings. Abhinav holds a Master's in International Business and is valued for his thoughtful approach and dedication to creating meaningful learning opportunities. He is committed to helping and encouraging students as they pursue their entrepreneurial goals.
They can? Okay, cool. Right, okay, I'll just go. Right, so absolute pleasure to be here today. Thanks so much for inviting me. Especially, do you want me to?
No, you're fine.
Okay, cool. Especially discussing a topic that touches all of us. And it's also a very, very special day for me because today marks the 27th year since I've born. So it's my birthday today.
Happy birthday!
Thank you. So thanks so much for inviting, and really pleasure to be here. I'm the Student Enterprise Officer. I work for the Anglia Ruskin University. So my team, we support students in starting businesses, becoming self-employed, going freelance, and all this stuff. Adisola is one of our students that we support in starting businesses. And today I'm gonna talk about miss moments on the concept of entrepreneurship or starting businesses. The miss moments that I'm discussing here today is misjudgment, miscommunication, sorry, misjudgment, miscalculation, and if we could get those. Okay, cool. Yeah. The miswords that I'm this moment that I'm discussing here today is misjudgment, miscalculation, and mistakes. So the miss moments can be really tough, but at the same time they're really important of the journey that we are in. So to start with, we could go to the next slide. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's makes sense. So to start with, we'll start with misjudgment. A lot of businesses, a lot of ideas, a lot of innovations are doubted, are misjudged, and were doubted at first. For example, if you look at the Airbnb, which initially people thought it's a strange idea. I mean, who would want strangers to be staying at your house, or you want to give your house to a stranger? So people thought it's really strange initially, and then the founder of Airbnb mentioned it was really hard for him to raise funds because the concept of sharing your house with a stranger seems to be very strange for everyone. But today, after all these years, Airbnb literally changed the whole travel industry and the tourism industry. So when your ideas are misjudged, you'll feel a bit discouraged, and it'll be really discouraging when you plan all those things. So when you have the moment you get a thought, and then you work on your idea, and then the day that you pitch it to someone, and then they'll ask you if this is not going to work. It's a strange idea. I don't think it's going to work. But I mean, we can't. The fact here is that people, yes, everyone has their own thoughts, their own ideas, so their own opinions. But for a founder, for an entrepreneur, when we are having all those thoughts, all those plans, and when we discuss it with someone else, it literally, and if they say no to it, or if someone says someone just misjudge us, it's very discouraging. But the one thing that we really need to remember while being misjudged is not a reason to give up when we are misjudged for our idea or for our idea. So but it's a reason to keep going. It shows, and you need to believe in your idea. As I mentioned, people will have their own opinions, and you need to find people that will be able to give you constructive feedbacks that will help you to work on the same idea and make it stronger. So misjudgments happen every time, especially when you're trying to enter a new market and trying to enter into a new business, and of course you need funds. So it's not a reason getting misjudged. Yes, it's discouraging, but it's not a reason for you to give up. It's a reason for you to keep working on the idea, talk to people, make friends, network, find people who can give you constructive feedbacks and help you make the idea stronger. Moving on to the next one, which is miscalculation. No matter how much you plan, things might go wrong. It occurs at all different places, at workplace, or if you're starting a business, or anywhere. You do all the planning, but something may go wrong. We might underestimate it also at let's say on the case of a business or project, we might underestimate the cost of a project, or we might think a product will be ready sooner than it is. So these are all different kinds of miscalculations that we make. Big companies make miscalculations. If you some did not see the technology transforming back years back. Nokia, if you look at Nokia is one of the great example of miscalculation. They didn't forecast the technological changes that are happening in the technology, and then they didn't calculate their future. They didn't calculate their they didn't plan accordingly for the technology, and then Nokia, who was at a time leader in the mobile phone market, went to the bottom of the list. So miscalculations happens to big companies, no matter who we are. It happens. So for entrepreneurs, the important thing is to have a plan very carefully, and be flexible, so that if something goes wrong, you will be prepared for it. You can adjust if things go wrong. So if miscalculation happens, learn from it and update your plan, or change your approach to whatever plan you're coming up with. And also be flexible. Being really flexible will help you to move forward, especially when things go wrong, when you do miscalculation. So that's miscalculation for me. And then lastly, I would like to talk about mistakes, which it's pretty simple, but mistakes sometimes feel like a failure. So, but they're actually very valuable lessons. So think about Thomas Edison. So who worked on I think around 1,000. I think who tried around more than 1,000 times to develop a working light bulb. And what he said at the end is that once he developed the light bulb, he said that I was not a failure. He said I have not failed, but I have found 10,000 ways that won't work. So that's the approach that he took for mistakes. So it is always a learning curve. So you always need to look at mistakes or failures as a learning curve. So mistakes also shows, if you are making mistakes, it really shows that you are taking risks. You are moving forward. And you are learning. So the real problem is that if you keep making the same mistake, that's going to be a really bad problem. So try not to make the same mistakes again, but learn from the mistakes that you make, and always try to update. So recently, I was having a chat with one of my friends, and then he suggested he's really looking to. He's excited about failing, so that he can move forward real quick. So and he said we need to fail really quick, fail fast, so that he can move really forward. So, and Elon Musk, he once mentioned that there is like a plan for 12 months. Try to do it in 6 months. You're definitely going to fail. And if you try to do a project that is planned for 12 months, but what happens is that if you try to do it in 6 months, you will still be ahead of the other people who are still doing it in the 12 month plan. So fail fast, so that we can move forward quick. And sometimes when things go wrong, ask what you learn from it, and apply your learning things, whatever you learned, to your next stages. And this mindset will not only help you to grow, but will help you make your business idea or your project really stronger. So that's the end of my presentation. So it's just to wrap up. Remember that being misjudged, when you make miscalculations or mistakes, it's all part of the journey. So this moment will just make you stronger and teach us important lessons. And thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you, and happy birthday.
Thanks so much.
I didn't know you were your
I just
birthday.
want to say hi to Rachel. Hi, Rachel.
Yeah, I've now connected. Audience, what do you see from the two photos? What do you see?
A duck.
Sorry?
A duck.
A duck. Okay, the first photo you thought a duck. Are you sure it's really a duck?
That's what I'm seeing.
Okay, that's what you are seeing. Okay. Does anybody see anything else apart from the duck? No, the first one.
Yeah, it's
a rabbit.
A rabbit. Thank you. It's a duck and a rabbit. You can see a duck, you can see a rabbit. What about the second photo? What do you see? Anyone?
A lady with flamboyant hair, like a princess.
Lady. Okay, lady with a flamboyant hair. Is the lady young or old?
Middle age.
Middle age. Are you sure?
an old woman. I can
Yes,
see an old
Auntie.
woman.
See, in that picture, there's an old woman. And if you look at it again, there's a young woman, an elegant young woman.
Mm-hmm.
Very old woman and a very young woman. The old woman, if you look at the covering, the white covering, and the nose, you see an old woman.
The young lady's chin is the nose of the
Exactly. So you see, sometimes you see things from different perspectives, especially when it comes to parenting. So moving on, I would like us to play the video for the next speaker, the final speaker.
Wholesome Parenting Community Hub welcomes Christine Udebelu. Christine Udebelu is a dedicated senior practitioner with experience across various boroughs in and outside London. She has supported families and individuals in multiple roles, including her work in fostering, supporting children with disabilities and domestic violence intervention. A qualified independent domestic violence advisor, Christine also serves as a motivational speaker, mentor, drama minister, fashion designer, poet, and businesswoman. Her broad expertise allows her to connect with and empower diverse audiences. Beyond her professional roles, Christina and her husband pastor at RCCG Holy Ghost Zone Lambeth, House of Love, where they focus on inspiring couples and parents through faith-based support and guidance. Christine is married with children and grandchildren and remains committed to uplifting her community both professionally and personally. Christine's hobbies include dancing, listening to music, attending the gym, and reading. Connect with Christine today. You can connect with Christine on the following socials: YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram.
Hi everyone, my name is Christine Udebelu. Tonight I'm talking about misparenting. What is misparenting? Misparenting is a term that refers to ineffective or harmful parenting practices. It's either due to lack of knowledge, poor judgment, or some external stressors. Misparenting does not necessarily imply intentional harm. Rather, it reflects challenges parents face in meeting their children's needs emotionally, physically, or developmentally. There are some types of misparenting, examples, not everything because of our time. neglectful parenting. This is when parents fail to provide adequate supervision, nourishment, emotional support, or safety to their child. And this can lead to the child's emotional withdrawal, behavioral issues, or developmental delays. Overprotective parenting. This often stems from a desire to shield from harm, but excessive control, as we all know, can hinder a child's independence, self-confidence, and self-esteem. Another type of parenting is authoritarian parenting. This type of parenting emphasizes on strict discipline and obedience, often at the cost of emotional warmth. This can lead to the child feeling resentment, rebellious, or anxiety. Another type is permissive parenting. This is when parents are highly responsive to their children, but at the same time, they lack structure or discipline. With this type of parenting, children may struggle with self-control, boundaries, respect for authority. For example, if the police stop a child to do stop and search, but because they are not used to respecting authority, they might sort of display some rude behaviors, refusing to be searched, thereby escalating issues. Inconsistent parenting is another one of concern, whereby parents changes rules frequently, changes types, method of punishment. This can leave the children insecure, they feel confused, they are not sure. There are some factors that lead to misparenting. Factors such as economic stress, financial instability, housing issues, work stress can contribute to misparenting. Mental health challenges. This is a very serious one. Conditions like depression, anxiety, personality disorder in parents may impact on their ability to provide consistent care to their child. Lack of knowledge or skill. Some parents may not have learned effective parenting strategies, whether due to lack of positive role model, cultural beliefs, or they have limited to access resources in the community. Another one is domestic violence or domestic abuse. This impacts greatly on a child. It impacts on their emotions, on their psychological well-being. And even some parents, when they separate, they use the children as tools. They teach the children to bear false witness against the other parent, all because they want full custody of the child. This is real misparenting. At times, they teach the child to testify against the other parent. They teach the child to lie against the other parent. And by the time they complete assessment or go to court, then they grant that other parent full custody. Negative parenting cannot be, the impact of misparenting cannot be overemphasized. It impacts on the children's emotional well-being. It causes low self-esteem, anxiety, depression. Children that are neglected may experience lack of emotional validation. And while children of permissive parents might struggle with frustration, tolerance, and impulsivity. Another one is impact is behavioral issues. Misparenting can lead to aggression, antisocial behavior, or academic difficulties in some children. Children may act, because they don't have consistent boundaries, they lack structure, lack discipline. And then again, another impact is attachment issue. Children may develop insecure attachment. They do not have attachment issue. And this might impact on their future relationships and their sense of safety. And even they are not quick to trust other people. But there is a solution. The cycle of misparenting can be broken. How? By educating parents, by telling them the importance of showing love to their children, disciplining their children in the right way, and at the same time, seeking support. Parents can seek support through therapy, social network support, community resources, attending parenting workshops, and with children that are impacted by misparenting, these children can access counseling, either in school, mentoring, programs to build up their self-esteem and their social skills. If I want to diverse a bit, I want to just make reference to the Bible. Ephesians 6 verse 4 says, "Father, do not provoke your child to anger, but bring them up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord." This is telling us that as a parent, when you say father, mother, we are not to frustrate our children. We are not to discourage them. We are to correct them in love so that they can see the goodness of God in us and learn to be good children and followers of Christ. Discipline a child and in the wrong way is wrong. It is good to discipline a child in the right way and to encourage them in the right way so that they can, they too can be a good example. They can be ambassadors of Christ. Another reference to the Bible is when it says, spare the rod and spoil the child. This is an old proverb that suggests discipline is necessary for raising well-behaved children. Some people have interpreted this to mean that physical punishment or using the rod is essential to correct children's behavior. This is wrong. Physical punishments can harm a child and it has negative impacts on children. The negative impacts on children include their mental health. Physical punishment can increase the risk of anxiety, depression, and behavioral issues in children. Children who experience physical punishments are also more likely to develop low self-esteem and security. Children often imitate behavior, and these children might go up being abusers themselves, because that is what they think. They think it's now the norm. It happens at home, so they can do anything outside, and they can be physically abusive towards their peers. But are we to just leave our children without disciplining them? No. There are various ways of disciplining children. Say like a toddler, you can take time out, put them in a naughty corner. But I will even or employ grandparents. When your children bring children to you, don't spoil them, because you are making things difficult for your child. Put a toddler in a naughty corner. Let them know there is a naughty corner. Take away privileges from children, grandchildren, or children that are like 8, 9, 10, teenagers. Take away privileges. You don't need to smack them. Just take away privileges from them. Put them in a naughty corner. And then again, another way of disciplining children in the right way is to make them to reflect on their action. You can ask, do you think what you are doing is right? Do you think what you are doing, what you did, could you tell me why you did it? Have discussion. This will help them to understand why you are disciplining them, or why they are in naughty corner, or why you take away privileges, why you say you cannot watch that program, you cannot use your phone. Many countries, including UK, have laws against physical punishment. Help is always available. There are parenting programs, workshops, training programs provided for parents, support from family members, community resources available. Because of our time, I'm just going to quickly jump to avoid misparenting. We should spend quality time with our children, build trust with our children, forming a comfortable environment for your child to share openly with you. Your child should be able to express anything they want. They should be able to talk to you. They should be able to trust you that when they come to you, you will listen to them, and then they will open up and say what they are going through. Take time to know their friends. Appreciate them, appreciate their friends. Don't just criticize. You might not even know their friends, but take time to know their friends. And stop comparing your child. That is really misparenting. Stop comparing your child. Oh, look at the neighbor's child. He got A star. Look at this. Look at that. Even siblings. Stop comparing siblings. Every child have got their own unique strengths. They've got their own unique talents and aspirations. Take time to understand the educational system yourself as a parent, and then know how you can support your child. But if you don't understand the educational system, you say, oh, so he's doing math, science. Why can't you do it? But understand what does your child want to do? Listen to your child. Don't force your child to do a subject that they do not want to do. That is misparenting. You can either observe your child, even from toddler, or ask them, what do you want to do? And then find them a tutor to support them, to help them to develop. As a parent, do not pressurize your child to do any career. Oh, you should be a doctor, you should be an engineer, oh, you should be, no. Instead, identify your child's strength. Observe them, support them. Teach your child the values of life. Teach your child to be kind. Teach your child to have good character. That is good parenting. Parents need to stand by their children. Believe your child, know your child. I'm not saying that these children they can be funny, but at times, when you are talking to your child, you know that this child is saying the truth. When you go to parents' meeting and the teacher is saying this, that, you ask your child, and you will know whether your child is saying the truth or not. And again, it is always good to stand by your child. Stand by your child, support your child, listen to your child. Some of us, most people, they are ministers. They say they are busy reading the Bible. The child will come to them to tell them what is going on in their life. And they say, oh, I'm coming. But by the time they say they are ready for the child, we say, don't worry. A lot of children are going through abuse because parents are not listening to them. Because some are ministers, some are professionals, some are business people, they travel here and there, which is good, but we need to listen to our children. I hope that parents are empowered today and that this little brief talk will make positive changes to parenting. Please, if you are a parent and you think you are struggling, Google where you can have access to resources. Contact social services. Contact there are so many resources in the community that you can access help. It is always good to get help. Whether you have mental health, get help. If you have mental health, use your medication. Take your medication. Pray, but take your medication so that you will have that capacity to parent that child, to meet that child's needs. And then you will raise a better leader in future. Thank you very much. Our time is far gone. Apologies, and thank you for those on the Zoom. Thank you for everybody. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Ma.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ma. Rachel said minus, it just popped out. Now look at the minus in the communication, the minus in the parenting, the minus in the in the trusting. Everything is just it just sinks. So it's now for us to now go back and look at the minus in our lives. Is it the miscommunication? How do we remove that minus and start communicating very well as a spouse, in a relationship, to our children, at work, in our business? And then Abner said something that it's okay to fail, but don't just stay the same way you are. Learn from that mistake. Learn from it. So most of us have made mistakes with our communication and everything. So it's now for us to learn from it. So I hope that we've all had this. These are the things that I've learned from, even the misparenting. When she first said misparenting, I was like, misparenting. I quickly went to Google it, and yes, it is a word. There is something called misparenting. It's there in the dictionary. So she's not something she cooked up. It's there. So there is misparenting. So we need to remove that mis and begin to parent well. And she gave very good example there. Identifying your child's strength. Don't compare. Don't even when she said know your children's friends and don't criticize their friends. I was like, okay, that's a new one for me. God help me. So there are lots of things to learn from. I don't know what you have learned from it, people on Zoom, people here, but make sure you take something there. So I don't think anybody has any question, because we did ask if you have any questions to put it on the chat. So we are just going to skip that. Omomi, are you still on?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Thank you very much, because I know that it's to 11 over there. Thank you for still staying with us. We are really grateful, and for other people, your time zone and everything. Okay, I'll just ask one more time. Does anyone have a question so that we can quickly round up? Any question? You can unmute. You don't have to write it on the chat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. If you have any questions to the speakers, you can contact them individually. So we just want to say thank you for waiting at stay to the very end. The Wholesome Parenting Community Hub, we have lots of videos on YouTube that you can go back to watch. Even this one should be on YouTube by tomorrow. Just the main essence for having this is for us to learn more about ourselves, our children, our community, because it takes a wholesome community to raise just one child, not even children, just one child. So this is all where the community, wholesome communities is all about. So we are going to close by thanking God. It's been a long day, but we thank God. We thank God for his mercies. We are grateful. Father, we just want to thank you. We give you all the glory. We give you all the praise. Thank you for such a time like this. Thank you for everyone that have attended, those online, those that would even listen to later on socials. We are really grateful. We say, Father, have your way. Take absolute control. Thank you for our families. Thank you for our children. Thank you for everything that you'll be doing, oh God, in our lives. We give you all glory. We give you all praise. For in Jesus' mighty name we've prayed. Amen. Thank you very much. See you. Not sure when the next session is going to be, but thank you. God bless you, and stay connected.
God bless.
Thank you. Bye.
Night.
Bye.